This is quite a period to be alive on the planet. There are so many unresolved patterns that are coming up to show themselves to you right now. And if you haven't noticed any, then you are not paying attention. These are all of the unconscious patterns that have existed in your psyche, in your consciousness, that need resolution. They want to be seen for you to be able to move forward. So take a minute before I dive in and maybe jot down a few themes that are really loud for you right now in your life. Because if you're anything like me, they just keep coming. It's like all the kids in the classroom are starting to raise their hands, and you may be looking around saying, "Oh my God, this too? This too?" But the good news is that we are in a time of hyper awareness. And so the ability to process these things and to do some really deep pieces of work is here right now. I'm Natha Perkins of Astrology, and this is my weekly forecast, The Path Ahead. I'm going to talk about the week of January 5th through the 11th. If you like my style and you would like to work with me privately, my schedule is filling up very quickly these days. So get on the books for a time in the future at electraastrology.com. And if you can't find an immediate appointment, you can always book a recorded reading, which is a great way to get some faster insight. Now, I'm not going to show the charts. it's it just doesn't even feel like it's relevant at this point in our process and in what we're doing. So you can listen to me on the podcast Star Narratives. Make sure that you follow the show. You can leave a review if you'd like, or you can watch me, just watch my face, no charts on YouTube, and make sure that you like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment on those episodes as well. That ensures that it keeps the algorithm pushing this information to you because there's a lot of information right now. It's really easy to slip off the radar and forget. And if you like the way that I translate this stuff, this is real time astrology. This is what is really happening right now in a time of immense change. We are beginning the year 2026, which is going to be such a different energetic year than the last few have been. Things are going to start to pick up quickly, but it's still pretty slow right now. We're still doing all of that deeper work of looking at the very unconscious things that have been running the show. I've used a lot of examples to describe this, but I think that it's an important one to really cement into your brain. So, an example of this is you're going about your day, you are aware that you're irritable, you're aware that everything is bugging you, that you're uncomfortable, that nothing seems to be going right, and slowly the awareness that you have a crushing headache shows up. You didn't really notice the headache before, but now that you noticed it, you realize that is why everything has felt harder. That's why everything has felt more difficult. This is the nature of what we're doing right now. All of these unconscious things that are around the edges that are impacting us that we aren't aware of are starting to show themselves. Once they show themselves, they are very hard to ignore. They are essentially asking us to go in and do the deeper layer of the work of that particular thing. So, a personal example for me, and I wrote about this in my Substack. If you guys are on Substack and you have not found me yet, go there, check me out, become a subscriber. You can become a free subscriber or a paid subscriber. But I'm talking about my 10-year sobriety anniversary, which is this month. Now, one of my issues is an underlying feeling of not being capable, of not being able to do something, of looking around and thinking, oh my God, the sky is falling and I'm never going to find the solution and there's no one here to help me. And that's a very Piscean thing. And I do have my moon in Pisces. So it makes sense that that might be a belief that I have carried along with me that impacts me, right? It's like anytime that a challenge comes up, that part of me shows up that says, we can't do this. We do not have what it takes. We're going to collapse under the pressure. The worst thing possible is going to happen. Okay. So I've been thinking about that, how not drinking and having to go through the last 10 years of my life, which have been very rough. I'll be honest with you. I've had a lot of upheaval. I've had some major relationship breakups. I have gone through some deaths. It has been a very challenging 10 years, but I've done it sober. So I didn't use any kind of alcohol to numb myself through the problems. Okay, so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, wow, so I actually was capable of doing it. And I actually did have what it took. And even in all of the discomfort of those situations, of having to navigate and having to manage, I did it. So I'm much stronger than I think. Now, to bring you up to speed, about 6 months ago, I stopped eating sugar. Sugar has also been something that was similar to me as alcohol, very addictive, very much something that I felt like it could become out of my control. Also, something like with alcohol, it probably took me 6 years of trying to stop, of all of this negotiating. Well, I won't drink Monday through Thursday, and then I'll only drink on the weekends, or I won't drink for the whole month of January. All of these things that we do that we have to do slowly to get ourselves to the point where we finally stop. And sugar has been the same way. I go through periods of time where I'm abstinent, I'm not eating it, and periods of time where I'm totally binging it. So it's been about 6 months since I last ate sugar. And as I've shared recently on this podcast, I just had a major death in my family. And this is the second major death in under 2 years that I've gone through. Now, when my dad died in 2024, I was eating sugar like crazy. Every day was a chocolate day, and that was okay. That was a very long and rough experience to get through. This time, though, although on a timeline it happened very quickly, I was not eating sugar. And so, as I'm looking at it and realizing this is yet another really hard experience, really challenging experience that I was able to get through, this time without alcohol and without sugar. And I don't use other drugs. So, this old underlying unconscious belief that I don't have what it takes, that I'm weak, that I'm undefended, that I'm incapable of protecting myself, has been one of those things that has risen up. And I've seen how much that belief has colored my experience, filling me with all sorts of fear and anxiety, and how it really doesn't have a place anymore. It's so clearly inaccurate. It's so clearly outdated. And this is just one of the things that I have been noticing. So, as we sit here, take a minute and just think about what has shown up for you, even over the last month, certainly over the last 6 months, where it's been a real challenge for you to see, wow, this is a pattern that I unconsciously act out. It's pretty toxic and it's not even real. It's not even the truth. So think about that for a second and just take a deep breath. All of our beliefs, all of these systems that we've been operating under are sloughing off. And we are finalizing the last few months of the Chinese zodiac year of the snake. So imagine when you see a snake shedding its skin, it leaves this very fresh, very vulnerable skin, and it lets go of all the tough stuff, all the protective stuff. So we are in a place where we're letting go of the protective stuff, but we don't need it anymore. So it's appropriate that we are shedding, and yet it's leaving us with an energy that feels a little vulnerable and a little soft and a little new. So we want to be sure that we're really with ourselves in that present moment, showing ourselves that tender, loving kindness and attunement. And so this brings me to the astrology. We had Chiron go direct on Saturday. It went direct at 22 degrees of Aries. Now, 22 degrees of Aries has been one of those degrees where Chiron has been retrograding back and forth and pausing. So for all of you that have 22 Aries in a planetary placement in your chart, you have been feeling it. And I looked up the Sabian symbol for 22 Aries, and it is a gate to the garden of unfulfilled desires. So think about that for a sec. Gate to the garden of unfulfilled desires. So we're going to look at this in a few ways. First of all, it's suggesting a moment when the door to something that is deeply desired is opening, but only if we are prepared to step through that doorway consciously. So, with Chiron, our wound, especially our childhood wounds, and maybe even our past life wounds, Chiron in Aries is the wounding around identity and who we take ourselves to be and who others take us to be. And so many of our wounds, so many of our unconscious things that run the show are so tied up in our identity. Is it okay to be me? Am I strong enough? Am I bold enough? Am I allowed to have boundaries? Am I allowed to be angry? Can I defend myself? These are all Aries questions. And Chiron says, you have wounds. You're scared to do that, or you got in trouble for doing that. And so, as we have gone through all of Chiron and Aries, it's going to leave Aries this year. It will retrograde back into Aries briefly, but we're at the end. And so, this particular Chiron direct is really potent for us. And it's essentially saying, there's so much on the other side. You are opening up the gate to the garden of your unfulfilled desires. However, you must have consciousness to walk through. And in order to have the consciousness, you have to be aware of what holds you back from those desires. I am a Taurus, and Taurus is typically a very strong sign, very immovable, almost fearless. So imagine the disparity between the part of me that says, I can't do it. I'm endangered. I don't have what it takes. I'm not strong enough. I'm weak and I'm going to be trampled. I'm going to be drowned. I'm going to be ignored. I don't exist, right? How that is at odds with that strong Taurus part of me that says, are you kidding? You know exactly what to do. You have exactly what it takes. You don't have something, you can create it. So it's like these kinds of pieces of work that are clicking into place for all of us if we're aware, if we are right here with it, watching it, and reminding ourselves that those weaker parts, those dysfunctional parts, or those toxic parts that were created really as defense mechanisms when we were children against something, those parts don't have a place anymore. And we can kindly say, no, 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 you're fine. I'm going to move with consciousness towards that which I desire, which is more strength, more power, more of a knowing. And I talked about this in my Substack post of one of the things about having 10 years of sobriety under my belt is that I feel so incredibly grounded in my being. I feel very unshakable. I've been able to cultivate a pretty strong tolerance for discomfort. So I don't have to numb it and I don't have to run away from it. I can stand strong within it. I can walk through the flames to get to where I need to go. It doesn't mean that the flames don't burn. It doesn't mean that these things aren't very difficult and aren't triggering, but it means I can do it. I can get through it because my desire is to be strong, solid, safe, secure, and able to create abundance. And I'm so much more fortified to be able to do that than I ever have been. And the same is true for each of us. The fortification is available, but we have to walk toward it. We have to be conscious about where we're coming from. One of my favorite tools to use is the I Ching. And in the I Ching, it does talk a lot about desire and how the things that we desire can be things that lead us astray. But the key with the I Ching is that desire itself is not wrong. What matters is the timing, the alignment, and restraint. So this 22 degrees of Aries where Chiron has stationed and gone direct and stationed and gone retrograde and all of these things, this is basically teaching us that when we are present with what needs to be healed, when we are aware of what is causing us pain and suffering, when we are in the healing process of those things, we are learning timing, we are learning alignment, and we are learning restraint so that we can move towards that which we desire. So this idea of the natural flow, I've been talking about this for the past few months with the North Node in Pisces, that is teaching us the evolutionary path is towards the flow. It's when we get stuck in that South Node Virgo that we are trying to force outcomes before their time, or that we are serving our ego over the idea of balance. So there's a lot of nuance here. There's a lot to hold where we're being very aware that this stuff can't be forced. The things that rise into your consciousness are here for you to sort through and try to understand. It doesn't mean that you're going to arrive at the gold star or the first place medal, right? Like, none of that is true. This is simply about having those aha moments of like, oh God, I was doing this. And look at me now, because I'm actually not doing it anymore. So there's a lot here that we're picking through. Now, I want to move in and talk about Capricorn because we had a full moon in Capricorn last week. And this week, like I talked about in last week's Path Ahead, this week we are looking at some Kazimis. We are looking at the alignment of Venus and the Sun at 16 degrees of Capricorn. So the Venus and the Sun meet. So if we take that and we look at the Sun as if it is the light of our awareness, it is who we are. It's not who we take ourselves to be, which is the Aries archetype of identity. It's who we are in our hearts. And that is the Leo archetype of identity, but the Sun rules Leo. So here we are with the Sun in Capricorn, which is about wisdom and mastery. It's about doing your time. It's about showing up with responsibility and making mistakes and learning from them. The Sun is in Capricorn. Like, if you want to know who you are, if you want to connect with your heart, you have to keep showing up. Can't ignore yourself. Can't numb it. You can't seek out something outside of yourself, like money or success or validation. Like, none of that is going to teach you about your own heart any better than tuning into your heart. So we know that that is a big piece of our work always. But this month with the Sun in Capricorn, it's like you have to keep going back to your heart, period. And as Venus comes in and meets with the Sun, again, we can't see Venus when she is meeting with the Sun. We are blinded. The Sun is too bright. And yet Venus represents our values and our relationship to abundance. Venus in Capricorn is also very karmic. So we have to start looking at those old relationships that made us feel less than, that we lost track of our hearts when we were in those relationships. Also, how does your relationship to money impact your connection to your heart? Money is so karmic, right? I was having a great talk about money with one of my dear friends, Janet Raftis, and we were talking about how we have a perception that money is finite. But that's not the truth. Money is infinite. What makes it finite is the way that we see it. And Venus is the planet that rules the money. Venus in Capricorn is about the karmic relationship to money. So when we're looking at money, abundance, love, all of those things that fall under the realm of Venus, and we connect it in with the Sun, which is the heart, and then we look at Venus and the Sun coming together in the sky in Capricorn. Again, Sabian symbol, 16 degrees of Capricorn. School grounds filled with boys and girls in gymnasium suits. Okay, what does that mean? The degree centers on training, preparation, and disciplined development. Okay, so this is our heart, our connection to our values, our connection to our money, all the relationships that have been unsuccessful, the times in our life when we have been unsuccessful with money, maybe where we have looked at money as a limited resource, where we have felt that we were in lack. Other people had money and we didn't. Other people had beauty and love and we didn't. I can't connect with my heart because I have to put on an act. Being successful is more important than being loving and present. Like, all of these things. Okay, so again, take a minute. Have any of these themes shown up for you over the past 6 months, but especially in the past month? Whew, probably in one form or another. So this here is an opportunity, again, to be disciplined in how you are addressing these things. Don't allow yourself to go down into that rabbit hole of lack, of fear, of, oh my God, it's not going to get better. Oh my God, I have no power. Or my value is dependent on how the outside world sees me. My value is dependent on my reputation. Now, your value is dependent on your character and on your integrity. And so, what does that look like to you? And are you in integrity right now? when I was drinking, because drinking has a way of making you a little sloppy, there were so many behaviors that I had that really weren't in integrity for who I was. And that's another reason why I'm really grateful that I stopped drinking, was because I have Saturn as my chart ruler. So big Saturn lessons for me in this lifetime, but we all have big Saturn lessons. And Saturn really teaches you that you have to have a code of conduct that belongs to you and you alone. And the more that you're able to follow that code of conduct, which includes following your morals, having values, acting ethically, being in alignment with what you feel to be good and right and true, the stronger you're going to be. The more you're going to be able to stand true in your power and say, I trust myself. I shared with the most recent death, I had to make some very big decisions, and I trusted myself to make them because I know that I am in integrity and I am not flaky and I'm not sloppy. So there's a lot around that that's coming up this week for all of us as well. Now, Venus goes on the 7th to make a conjunction with Mars. This is going to be at 18 Capricorn. Okay, so we bring in all those Venus things: the value, the money, the love, the relationship, the self worth. And then we combine it with Mars things. Mars is the divine masculine. It is about our power, our energy, our drive, what we are willing to take action on. Mars is an Aries thing. We were just talking about Aries with the Chiron. Am I allowed to stand my ground? Am I allowed to have boundaries? Am I allowed to be courageous and brave? Am I allowed to say no? Am I allowed to be angry? Mars in Capricorn says yes. Mars in Capricorn is the energy of the general. It's exalted in Capricorn. So we bring Mars and Venus together. These are the lovers. So they do like to be together, but they are together in Capricorn. This is not a passionate, romantic, dramatic sign. This is a sign where you do what needs to be done. You show up and you finish the job. Now they're meeting at 18 degrees of Capricorn. So the Sabian symbol for 18 degrees. The Union Jack flies from a British warship. Okay. Well, what does that mean? So I'm going to read this. This degree is about authority, allegiance, and collective power. It symbolizes identification with a larger structure, a nation, an institution, a tradition, or a mission, and the strengths and limits that come from that identification. So here we're acknowledging that we have impact on those around us. That the more that we're willing and able to take personal responsibility by being aware, by seeing our patterns of dysfunction that show up, that are here to be processed and eliminated. When we are able to say, this is happening, I'm here to understand it, I'm here to take responsibility for it, I'm here to stop acting it out, then we act as a positive influence on those around us. We become the beginning of that ripple effect so that more and more people are able to do this particular thing. There's a lot of unconsciousness in the world still. So know that this is a week too. Well, this is a multi-week period where you're understanding the gravity of this personal spiritual work that you're doing. It's not just for you, it's for those around us. It's for a greater mission, the identification with the larger structure, which is the collective. Now, on the 9th, finally, we have the Sun making a conjunction with Mars. Okay, so Venus, Sun, Mars, they're all dancing in Capricorn together. They're all coming up. The Sun and Mars is more distilled, where we're looking at our ego, maybe our egoic relationship to power. These are the two identity planet and stars in the zodiac, the Sun and Mars, ruled by Aries and Leo. So two different versions of identity. Mars in Aries is the identity of how I perceive myself and how you perceive me. And Leo in the Sun is the identity of who I am and who I am in my heart, how connected with my heart I am. Okay. So these two come together again in the sign that is about the mission, the purpose, getting the job done, the wisdom, the mastery, the self-responsibility. 19 degrees of Capricorn. So the Sabian symbol, a child of about 5 with a huge shopping bag. This degree is about growing into responsibility that feels larger than one's current capacity. It symbolizes taking on duties, ambitions, or expectations before one fully knows how to manage them. Okay, well, that fits. That tracks. So here we are, we're vulnerable. Our weathered, defensive skin is coming off. We are discarding our old patterns that have kept us safe. And it feels a little fresh and vulnerable. And yet we carry on. We are doing this work even though we don't fully understand it yet. We are venturing out into a brave new world of trusting ourselves, knowing that we have done the work that we've done up until this point, whatever that is. We have done it to the best of our abilities. The things that still need work, that still need attention, that still need accountability, we're here. Okay, we're here. We're willing to, stumble our way through it. And yeah, it feels like a big responsibility. It feels like a lot. It is work that hasn't been done before. It has not been modeled to us before. We don't have great modeling for people that wanted to show up and be present and be connected with their version of God and take responsibility for things that are going on, right? What has been modeled were a lot of people that never wanted to talk about anything, and a lot of people that were very power hungry, and a lot of people that were very unconscious. That's been the modeling, especially within the context of Capricorn Saturn, the governing bodies, the parents, the teachers, the government, the religions. Okay, so here we are. Here we are. It's 2026. We're just these little humans struggling through our own personal spiritual work, and yet it's for a bigger cause. It is something that we're all still going to grow into. The work is not done. 2026 takes on a completely different energetic flavor and feel faster. So right now we're in a bit of a pausing energy, and here's the instructions. Okay. Here's exactly what you're meant to be doing, what you're meant to be looking at. So just take a minute, take a deep breath into that. Here you are, knowing that it is time to pay very close attention to the themes that are showing themselves. What is your higher self bringing you? What are your old beliefs that are definitely no longer true? What are your accomplishments? What have you been able to do really well? Stop and pat yourself on the back for those. These last 10 years, 15 years have been really hard. They've been very eye-opening and very much sort of by the seat of our pants. Okay. We haven't really had a syllabus for what we're doing. It's like we've been working at a job where it's like we've been working at a restaurant where people just keep coming in and our tables just keep filling up. And we're just trying to make the best of it, trying to keep the plates of food coming to the table. Okay. So now it's about tuning into your heart, taking extreme personal responsibility, right? If you relate to the world as a victim, everyone hurts me, it's everyone's fault. Oh, you need to look at that. If you look at the world like, oh, I'm so weak and the world's so scary, you need to look at that. If you are looking out and saying, somebody else, come take care of me, somebody else, fix this problem for me, you need to look at that. Okay. And we all have our versions of all of those things that are happening, that are coming up and saying, hey, look at me, look at me. So that's the energy of this week. Yeah. Nice, easy energy to start 2026 with, right? But it's an adventure, and I think it's exciting. And to me, it feels like there is immense freedom available to all of us as we work through these things. All right, well, I hope that was helpful, and I shall talk to you all next week.